Left at the altar, for my best friend. The day was perfect. Or at least, it was supposed to be. The morning of my wedding felt like stepping into a dream. The sunlight streamed through the grand cathedral windows, casting golden rays on the marble floors. The air smelled of roses and jasmine, carefully arranged in overflowing bouquets along the aisles. Guests murmured excitedly, their laughter and well-wishes floating in the air like music. Everything was set for the happiest day of my life. I stood in the bridal suite, staring at my reflection in the floor-length mirror. My dress was a masterpiece, ivory silk, embroidered with delicate lace, hugging my body in all the right places. My hair was swept into an elegant updo, a few loose tendrils framing my face just the way I'd always imagined. My heart pounded in anticipation, nerves, and excitement warring within me. "Are you ready?" my maid of honor, Claire, asked, adjusting my veil with careful hands. Her eyes sparkled, though something flickered behind them that I couldn't quite place. I took a deep breath and nodded. I've never been more ready for anything in my life. Claire's smile faltered for the briefest moment before she squeezed my hands. "I'm so happy for you, Liv." Moments later, the wedding march began. My father took my arm, his touch steadying my racing heart. "You look beautiful, sweetheart," he whispered as he led me toward the grand doors of the church. Then they opened, and I stepped forward. The sight of the packed cathedral took my breath away. Hundreds of familiar faces turned toward me, their expressions filled with joy and admiration. But my eyes found only one, Daniel, my fiancé, standing at the altar, waiting for me. He looked devastatingly handsome in his tailored black suit, his dark eyes locked onto mine. My heart swelled with love. This was it. My forever. But then, something shifted. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Daniel's expression changed, hesitation, then something darker. He turned his head slightly, looking toward someone in the crowd. I frowned slightly, trying to follow his gaze. Who was he looking at? Was he nervous? Cold feet, maybe? A flicker of doubt crept up my spine, but I shook it off. This was Daniel. He loved me. We had planned this day for months. There was no reason for him to be anything other than happy. And yet, his posture was stiff. His fingers clenched at his sides. And then, before I could take another step, Daniel took a deep, unsteady breath and then, he walked away. Gasps erupted around me. The organ music screeched to a halt. My father stiffened beside me. I could feel the blood drain from my face as my mind struggled to comprehend what was happening. "No," I whispered, unable to believe it. "Daniel." But he wasn't looking at me anymore. He was heading down the aisle, toward Claire. I watched in stunned horror as my best friend, my maid of honor, rose from her seat, eyes wide with something that looked like guilt, but not regret. Not shock. She hesitated for only a moment before taking a step toward him. And then another. A low murmur filled the air as realization dawned on the guests. My mother clutched her chest. My father let out a curse. The officiant stood frozen, script in hand, his mouth hanging open. And I could do nothing but watch as the man I loved, the man I was about to marry, reached for my best friend's hand. I waited for Claire to refuse, to shake her head, to step back, to return to my side where she belonged. But she didn't. Instead, she let Daniel take her hand, and together, they walked out of the church, leaving me alone at the altar. The silence was deafening. For a long moment, I didn't move. Couldn't move. I stood frozen, staring at the place where they had just been, my mind an empty, hollow void. Then whispers began to swell around me, growing louder with every second. Aunt Linda let out an outraged cry. My mother was already sobbing. My father turned to me, his eyes burning with fury and heartbreak. Someone muttered, "Unbelievable." Someone else hissed, "Did she know?" I wanted to scream, to chase after them, to demand an explanation. But my body felt disconnected, floating outside of itself, as if this were happening to someone else entirely. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. And yet, the empty space beside me at the altar said otherwise. A sharp pain stabbed through my chest, and suddenly, I couldn't breathe. My hands trembled. My vision blurred. The weight of betrayal, of heartbreak, of utter, absolute humiliation, came crashing down all at once. The dream had shattered. and I was left standing in the ruins. The minutes after Daniel left felt like a surreal haze. I barely remember the hands that touched my shoulders, the voices murmuring words of comfort or outrage. Someone, my mother, maybe, tried to guide me toward a chair. My knees buckled before I reached it, and the next thing I knew, I was sitting, my veil slipping from my hair, pooling like forgotten silk in my lap. The hours after the wedding were a blur. Time had lost all meaning. The days that followed were unbearable. I stayed in my parents' house, locked away in my childhood bedroom, the world outside feeling too cruel to face. My wedding dress remained draped over the chair in the corner, a painful reminder of what should have been. The texts started first. Some from distant relatives expressing their sympathy, others from mutual friends who wanted to know what had happened. But the ones that sent a cold shiver down my spine were from Claire. "Olivia, please. Let me explain. I never wanted this to happen this way. I'm sorry." I never responded. What was there to say? She had taken everything from me. My love, my future, my dignity. One evening, my mother knocked gently on my door. "Sweetheart, you can't stay in here forever." I stared at the ceiling. "Why not?" She sat beside me on the bed, brushing my hair back like she used to when I was a child. "Because you're stronger than this." I wanted to argue, but I had no fight left. A week passed before I left the house. A simple walk around the block felt like scaling a mountain, but with each step, my breath came easier. The world hadn't ended, even if it felt like it should have. It was in a coffee shop, weeks later, where I saw Daniel again. He didn't see me at first, but when our eyes met across the room, my heart clenched. He had moved on. I could see it in the way he laughed at something Claire whispered. And then it hit me. I would move on too. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But someday, I would be more than the woman left at the altar. And when that day came, Daniel and Claire would be nothing but a distant memory. Because I was Olivia. And I was not broken.